You know, Jen, if you think about it, Psaki's stint as the queen of dodging questions might have been the longest edition for MSNBC we have seen so far.
We're not going to outline them in more detail from here. I think I answered the question a little bit earlier. Well, let me give you a little bit of a different take on this. Happen as a result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Well, I think that's a relevant question because I think this is a politically charged, harsh law. But more tomorrow. Let's do this again. I don't have a projection here on specifically what the inflationary impact would be. Go ahead. I'm not going to detail it further beyond what he said in the past from here. Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Well, even though it seems like a dream for reporters to get rid of Jen Psaki, let's not forget it is Friday the 13th, and the White House is passing the buck from one nightmare of a press secretary to another.
I just want to take the opportunity to celebrate and congratulate my friend, my colleague, my partner in truth, Karine Jean-Pierre, the next White House press secretary.
Joining us now to weigh in on the legacy of Jen Psaki and what to expect when Karine Jean-Pierre puts her spin on being spokesperson for the Biden administration is president of Accuracy in Media, Adam Guillette, and host of the Liz Wheeler Show podcast, Liz Wheeler. Thank you both for being here tonight.
Hi, Jen. Hi, Mercedes.
So Jen Psaki's briefing. Great to have you. Jen Psaki's last briefing, it got a little chaotic. Obviously, it wouldn't have been a Jen Psaki press briefing without a rude remark towards a reporter who's willing to call her out. The media said the reporter heckled her, but really he was just doing his job, and Psaki attacked him. Now, for anybody at home who may have missed that, let's take a look at what happened earlier today.
Sometime. Go ahead.
Can I ask you a question from the back?
On the issue of the formula shortage.
Can I ask you a question from the
please
back?
stop.
I understand, but for 15 months,
please show some of the formula.
And I'm saying that for the sake of equity, we should
First of all,
have
thank you for your service, and thank you for your husband for your service as well. On the issue of formula, I think if anything, this crisis has reminded everyone that this
Simon, if you could respect your colleagues and other media and reporters in here, that would be greatly appreciated. Go ahead, Mary.
You know, Adam, I spent some time in a White House briefing room once upon a time. It was during the Trump administration, and I'm old enough to remember when a White House press secretary actually called on everyone in the room. And, Psaki says the media held her accountable, but, she wasn't calling on all of the media. What's your response to her reaction today to that objection from the reporter?
Well, of course, this is somebody who's only called on her friends, which is most of the media, during the majority of her tenure. However, I have a slightly unpopular opinion. I think she actually deserves more credit than we give her. It's difficult enough being a press secretary to a popular president during times of economic prosperity when there isn't a global pandemic. Imagine having to answer questions for Joe Biden, of all people, during a global pandemic when there's a war going on and hyperinflation. That is not a job I would want to handle every day, but granted, I would still actually call on more than just the same few journalists.
Okay, that's a fair point, I would say. Liz, do you agree?
It's funny because if you listen to the undertone of that video, the journalist who is being interrupted, the one whose face is covered in a mask, is actually not asking a question, but just praising Jen Psaki. So it's a little bit humorous to me that Jen Psaki's interrupting a reporter that's interrupting another reporter that's just basically sucking up to Jen. Listen, there are so many things about Jen Psaki that are troubling. This woman should not be celebrated. She's one of the biggest liars, biggest propagandists that we have seen in any White House, in any administration. There are so many things that she did not circle back on. She covered for Joe Biden when he botched up the withdrawal of Afghanistan. She covered for Joe Biden when it came to the Durham probe and the Russia collusion allegations. She covered for Joe Biden on inflation and this baby formula shortage, this crisis that moms are facing across the country. This is not a good person. This is not someone whose legacy should be celebrated. I actually considered showing up in a party hat just to celebrate the fact that she is not going to be behind this podium anymore.
Well, I got to say, I think, look, I've been in the communications office working very closely with the White House press secretary, with Sarah Sanders, and it really is the toughest job in the White House. I agree with you, Adam. I think that, she was put into a situation where it was clear that she never had a good answer, but it came with such an interesting perspective when you're talking about the fact that in this briefing room, she would only get softball questions from reporters. Here's a brief trip down memory lane.
Will he keep Donald Trump's Air Force One color scheme change?
This is such a good question. I have not had the opportunity to dig into that today. Go ahead.
Before I start my actual questions, we heard all about dogs. We were promised a White House cat. What happened to that?
Where is the cat? Today's a good day for the cat. I don't have any update on the cat.
And what happened to his Peloton bike? Did he bring it to the White House?
I didn't know where this was going, but I'm intrigued by it. I will say I have nothing to read out on the president's private exercise regime.
Adam, let me start with you. I mean, do you think Kareen's going to get an even more, what I would say soft questions from these reporters?
No, I mean, that is fair. The hardest question she faced is, how do we pronounce your last name? But again, I can't ever be that disappointed with her because that's the job. Her replacement was never going to be Ben Shapiro. Her replacement was going to be another person who spins the ridiculousness of the lies that is the Biden administration. That's what we expect from them. I think she's going to get the same treatment. I think she's going to do the same thing and call on the same allies. And while we might bemoan the relationship between the new press secretary and someone at CNN, let's remember that that's consistent throughout left-wing journalism now. One of the most influential news sites for young people is Now This. They've got tens of millions of easily influenced followers, and their executive team is made up of former Hillary Clinton staffers, Stacey Abrams staffers, and DNC staffers. The problem is much worse than we even realize.
Liz, I know you praised, you were basically very critical of Jen Psaki, but the reality is Kareen is even more left of center. I mean, she was with MoveOn.org for crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean, the replacement's going to be no better than her predecessor. In fact, it's shocking that more journalists who pretend that they're straight news journalists, they pretend that they're unbiased, are completely silent about the fact that this woman, her lesbian life partner, is a CNN employee. She is literally in bed with the mainstream media, this administration. It's obviously a conflict of interest. It's going to make any coverage from CNN fundamentally biased. There's no way, not that you could trust CNN coverage before, but there's certainly no way that you're going to trust CNN coverage or anything they say about the Biden administration, because the press secretary is partners with one of their own so-called reporters. It's actually kind of shocking.
Well, Liz, I'm glad you brought that up. Adam, do you think this is enough? So last week, CNN took Malveaux off the political beat. Is it enough, though, to prevent a conflict of interest here?
Well, I almost take offense to the notion that CNN is mainstream media anymore. You look at the ratings, they're about as popular as COVID. They've got nothing in terms of ratings. MSNBC has taken the entire left-wing audience from them. CNN Plus, seriously. But I appreciate the fact that they're no longer lying to us. They're no longer pretending to be unbiased. They're just up and out saying, as she pointed out, they're in bed with these folks in the media. At least they're not insulting our intelligence anymore.
Well, Liz, let's be honest here. If this was the Trump administration and we saw this kind of relationship with the media, with the press secretary and the media, the legacy media would be all over this. We would not be hearing the end of it.
Right, as they should, in a sense. I mean, this is the difference between the Trump administration and the Biden administration, is the Trump administration was not only willing but eager to answer questions from really unfair, biased, left-wing pundits and personalities, whereas the Biden administration is not. They're interested in propaganda only. They're interested in lies. They're interested in manipulating the truth. And their choice of who represents their communications department shows that. The American people aren't fooled by this anymore. There's a reason that Jen Psaki is so unpopular, because people feel her condescension. They feel they're being insulted, and they know it.
Adam, I think one quick area that I'm seeing is there hasn't been a lot of turnover from this administration. I mean, you still have most of the players intact, including the chief of staff, Ron Klein. I would say that Jen Psaki is probably one of the top officials in the White House that is the first to leave. I mean, you would think if there's failure after failure after failure, as we're seeing in the Biden administration, why aren't we seeing a lot more turnover?
Kamala's office.
Oh, yes.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's not like Kamala's office, but nothing is. Give it 6 months, wait till the midterms occur, and you will see the rats flee the sinking ship. once you're in the final 2 years of the Biden administration with his polling numbers plummeting and people wondering if he's even going to attempt to run for office, these people are going to be fleeing. But I think it's nothing for them to stick around until the midterms before they tap out and get the best possible offer that MSNBC gives them, or as it's called in journalism, going pro, leaving the White House, going to the news networks.
Well, I don't know about you all. I'm not going to miss Jen Psaki. It'll be nice to have a fresh face, but she was great for all the memes and the content on social media. And I'm certainly going to miss seeing videos like this popping up. Watch.
Why does the president support abortion when his own Catholic faith teaches abortion is morally wrong?
Well, he believes that it's a woman's right, it's a woman's body, and it's her choice.
Always good for a laugh. If you're not crying, you're laughing, so hopefully you're going to laugh. But before we go, what will each of you take away from Jen Psaki's time as press secretary? Adam, I'll start with you.
Well, I certainly won't miss the condescension, and I won't miss the circle back jokes. My gosh. It's almost hard to say, but as we've said, it's a revolving door between the media and the Democratic Party, and at least they're no longer pretending to be separate entities.
Liz?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway from Jen Psaki's legacy at the White House is Democrats and the Biden administration have no respect even for their own voters, that they would blatantly lie to us in that way, that they would insult us to our face, and not just us, meaning Republicans. I'm talking about us as in the American people, that they would try to manipulate the truth and try to stifle anybody who dissents from their ideology, including colluding with big tech to try to get people who disagree with their agenda actually kicked off of these platforms. And people understand, and they should understand very clearly that the Biden administration and Democrats have no respect for our rights, no respect for our freedom, no respect for us as individuals, as adults.
Yeah, very true. It is scary. Adam Gullett, Liz Wheeler, great to see you both. Thanks for being here.